What is going on, everyone? Today I thought we would talk about the different races that are within the world of Ether, within the game Monsters and Memories. Just get a little snippet of their backstory / lore, and once again go over the class and race combinations that you're going to be able to create. So let's start out here with the humans. Humans are the most common race found on the continent of Aetheril. They vary in disposition, motivation, and aptitude almost as greatly as they vary in number. Despite this strong sense of individuality, 4 common human cultures exist on Aetheril. The Bahara, a proud seafaring people whose history dates back to the fall of Hathalia. They are rumored to align with powerful supernatural forces. The Turelians, like the Bahara, also migrated east during the Second Decidium. They are a powerful and noble people whose queen is rumored to have gone mad. The dour and superstitious people of Easthim, whose love of tradition and bureaucracy is topped only by their affinity for corruption. The nomadic Sojourners, whose clans of wildlings, tinkerers, entertainers, and traveling merchants can be found throughout Aetheril. Humans can be every class, depending on your starting location. So very versatile. Probably can be, every class, but likely not the best choice, right? Next up we have the High Elves. The Cylindrine, or High Elves, are tall, beautiful, almost otherworldly beings. Their powerful physiques, innate grasp of magic, and calm, calculated demeanor further feed into this sense of otherworldliness. They embrace this perception, cultivating a sense of superiority. Purity is a common theme amongst High Elves. They consider themselves the only uncorrupted remnants of the great Califrey conglomerate, an elven empire that once spanned much of Aetheril's western seaboard. As the last of their kind, the High Elves who followed strict religious doctrines are notoriously insular and one of the least welcoming of the civilized races on Aetheril. It doesn't help that their sense of superiority is often reinforced when the quality of their craftsmanship, magic, and military prowess is tested. However, in recent years, a growing faction within their ranks has pushed for greater diplomacy and increased collaboration with potential allies. This enfrightening has begun to manifest as more than just a raucous debate. As the longest lived of the civilized races, the enfrightening may take some time to play out, for High Elves' plans can take centuries to unfold. High Elves can be the following classes: Archer, Cleric, Elementalist, Enchanter, Inquisitor, Paladin, Spellblade, and Wizard. Wood Elves. The Faeluin, or Wood Elves as they are more commonly called, once resembled their High Elf cousins. Today, these keepers of Aetheril's great forests no longer appear as the elves they once were. Having been denied shelter from the great cataclysm by the Cylindrine, the Faeluin were spared when the Fae of the branch interceded. Unfortunately, all deals with the Fae come at a considerable price. When this new generation of elves returned from the Fae realm, they found that they were born of 2 worlds, but belonged to neither. While reclusive and cautious, the Wood Elves are fair and hospitable. They are highly attuned to nature and share a special relationship with both the flora and the fauna of the great wooded hills. Their preservers and ardent keepers maintain watch over the forests they have spent centuries rebuilding. Their druids quickly travel the world via weird gates, while their lambent wanderers, a collection of Faeluin bards and traders, roam the lands of Aetheril to conduct trade and diplomacy, spread their love, and gain knowledge of the world beyond the woods. At home, the Wood Elves are monitoring an increasing growth of cults dedicated to the Fae of the branch, who seek to return their people, and potentially even their lands, back to the realm of the Fae. Wood Elves can be the following classes: Archer, Bard, Beastmaster, druid, fighter, ranger, rogue, and shaman. Shaman stands out to me there. Next up we have the Deep Elf. While almost eradicated as a people during the wars following the collapse of the Caliphate conglomerate, it is believed that the Elves are now the most prolific elven race. Once vanquished, banished, and hunted, these elves fled deep underground. It was here that they first heard the Shadow's voice. Having warned by the Shadow of the impending calamity that burned bright in the heavens, the Elves descended further into the shelter of the deep. There they found a thriving ecosystem and adapted to the darkest depths of Aether's corrupt underbelly. They learned to subjugate even the most demonic of forces, or as they appeared and collective ethos began to transform, perhaps they merely learned to coexist with the power that they sought to control. In the years that followed, the Elves claimed the title of Masters of the Deep and proved themselves formidable against the armies of the surface world. They have since reclaimed the ruins of the city from which they were driven by the Caledrine so long ago. Now deep below rests the great capital of the underworld, in which the Elves scheme and the shadows listen. Deep Elves can be the following classes: Archer, Cleric, Elementalist, Enchanter, Fighter, Inquisitor, Monk, Necromancer, Paladin, Rogue, Shadow Knight, Spellblade, and Wizard. What stands out to me here, that's a lot of classes, but what stands out to me here is that they can be a Paladin. It's interesting. Paladin and Cleric, but also some of the darker stuff like Shadow Knight, Necromancer. Not as many as a human, but it's a lot. Next up we got Dwarves. The origins of the Dwarves are not entirely clear, but many historians trace their arrival on Aether to coincide with that of the dragons after the Burning Heavens cataclysm. Creation myths suggest that the Dwarven people originate from the great mountains of the Galdry Range to the east. These myths state they were created from the blood of their ancestor god, a great titan who formed their homeland upon his death. His blood gave life to the stone and shaped the Dwarven people in his image. Dwarves are fond of strong drink, fine craftsmanship, astronomy, and exploration. They are quick-tempered, fierce fighters whose fortitude resembles the stone from which they are believed to have originated. Dwarves can be found throughout Aetheril as both master craftsmen and insatiable explorers. To befriend one of these stout and loyal folks is to make a friend for life. Dwarves can be the following classes: Bard, Cleric, Enchanter, Fighter, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Spellblade, and Wizard. Dwarf Enchanter. Deep Dwarves. These enigmatic, dark reflections of their dwarven cousins are believed to originate from the same Titan's blood. The stories of the Deep Dwarves' origins, often told to frighten dwarven children before bed, speak of the blood of life flowing into the darkest crevices of the deep below Aetheril. It was there, amongst corrupted stone, that the first of the Deep Dwarves took form. However, the Deep Dwarves' relentless drive to collect spirits and trap them in their creations has led many to think that they are but trapped spirits themselves. Perhaps the Titan's blood encountered something more than corrupted stone in those dark crevices, where the separation between realities can be so thin. The Deep Dwarves are a calculating, methodical race. They tirelessly reshape the deep with cold precision and incredible skill. They not only carve and shape in stone, but breathe life into strange creations that assist them in their efforts. These insidious strategists see Aether and its fonts of life as something to exploit and conquer. Their steady plotting determination is matched only by their stony strength. Deep Dwarves can be the following classes: Cleric, Elementalist, Fighter, Inquisitor, Necromancer, Paladin, Shadow Knight, and Spellblade. I guess it's kind of similar to the elves. Gnomes. No race on Ethereal is as inventive or creative as the diminutive gnomes. Their ceaseless pursuit of truth coupled with extraordinary epiphanies make them unrivaled in their genius. Behind the chaos of their workspace and curt, distracted demeanors, they are kind, gentle souls and perhaps the most benign, as well as brilliant and charming, of Aether's races. However, you should be warned, some gnomes have fallen to the allure of dark gods and seek to use their brilliance for vile purposes. Gnomes can be the following classes: Cleric, Elementalist, Enchanter, Fighter, Necromancer, Paladin, Rogue, Spellblade, and Wizard. Be a little gnome pally. Deep Gnomes. Aren't they the cutest? Descendants of gnomes, this curious race emerged after the Great Cataclysm, transformed by something they experienced while deep underground. Where gnomes are Aether's greatest engineers and researchers, deep gnomes are the preeminent meta-scientists and explorers of the world beyond. The curiosity of deep gnomes is relentless, and they are fearless in venturing where others dare not go. While deep gnomes make it a point to mingle with other races, they are only interested in doing so if it furthers their research. Unlike their surface cousins, the deep gnomes do not seek to understand the truths of the universe, but rather those of the multiverse. They are the deep divers of dreamscapes, explorers of the astral planes, and spelunkers of the spirals. The more they learn, the more pressing their desire becomes to return to the surface. Deep gnomes can be the following classes: Beastmaster, interesting, Druid, Elementalist, Enchanter, Necromancer, Rogue, Shaman, and Wizard. Beastmaster threw me off there. Next up we have the Halflings. Halflings are the oldest of Aether's races by far, thriving as a civilization long before the other races had any significant presence on the planet. Like Fey beings, Halflings are born from Aether's fonts of life and are deeply attuned to the sentient planet. Naturally curious and consummate lore keepers, Halflings were the first wanderers and storytellers of the world. The Halfling race has lived through and witnessed all of the events that have unfolded on Aether over the eons. When the world was safe, they roamed it, observing its marvels and spinning what they learned into wondrous stories and tales. When it wasn't, they often, but not always, hid in their cozy warrens and waited until they could resurface again. The world has changed much over the millennia, and so too have the Halflings. Today, the majority of Halflings are jovial, peace-loving farmers and settlers, as opposed to the daring wanderers of old. Unbeknownst to most, including many of their own communities, they have retained much of the lore of the ages lost, and there are still a few adventurous Halflings looking to add those tales. Halflings can be the following classes: Archer, Bard, Beastmaster, Cleric, Druid, Paladin, Ranger, and Rogue. I think these are the best done Halflings in the game. As for models, I don't really play Halflings, I never have. Whenever they're a choice for a class, I tend not to pick the Halfling. I know there's a lot of Halfling lovers out there. Let me know what you think, Halfling lovers. But I think that the design on the Halflings in Monsters and Memories is hands down the best Halfling design I've ever seen. Let me know what you think. It's got to be something with the hair. Goblins. Greedy, sneaky, nasty, stabby, deceptive, and outright evil. These are the words the races of Aether ascribe to goblins. They are only tolerated because of their unique intuition for sensing secrets and maybe their sick sense of humor. Goblins have an aptitude for identifying hidden entrances and being able to tell when another is not being truthful. They find great utility in leveraging their race's renown for secret finding, espousing themselves as invaluable guides to reluctant adventurers. For a non-goblin, it would be nigh impossible to navigate the labyrinth forest that shrouds the heap that goblins call home. the ever-growing pile of riches and plunder the goblins have managed to attain from their nefarious activities. What the goblins lack in brute strength and size, they compensate for with uncanny perceptiveness, chaotic presence, and mental alacrity. Goblins are supremely adept at seeing opportunities where others would not, connecting the dots that others miss and capitalizing on them. It is not simply how hard you thrust the knife, it is where the knife ends up. Goblins can be the following classes: Archer, Druid, Enchanter, Fighter, Necromancer, Ranger, Rogue, Shadow Knight, and Shaman. Next up, we got the Trolls. It is believed that trolls arrived on Ether during the first invasions of the Spiral Lords. After cutting a swath across Ether, they emancipated themselves from their masters and melted away into the swamps, crags, and caves that served them so well as hunting grounds. Millennia of war and catastrophes have tested and tempered them to becoming ultimate survivors. No race on Ether has a physical resilience, natural adaptation, or cunning of trolls. They are self-serving, distrustful of everyone, including other trolls. They are cruel, calculating, and predatory, motivated only by power, self-interest, and survival. Above all, trolls value their independence. They bow only to power surpassing their own. But even then, that is what poison is for. Trolls are supremely crafty hunters, trappers, and survivalists. This is not just out of necessity, but out of an innate sense of purpose. As such, the more ambitious and crafty of their lot have made their way out of the swamps into the employment of those seeking only the most vicious bounty hunter, assassin, or beguiler. Trolls may be found throughout Aetheril, but are not always welcome and are watched closely. Trolls can be the following classes: Beastmaster, Druid, Enchanter, Fighter, Necromancer, Rogue, Shadow Knight, and Shaman. Lastly, we end up on Ogres. These furious and fearless warriors are capable of incredible violence. In a heartbeat, their temperaments can swing from the stillness of a placid sky to the unadulterated fury of a raging tempest. They vary greatly in intelligence and disposition, but none of them fear death, for only the bravest of them will feast in the shattered halls of their elders. Ogres were created by the giants of the Storm Coast to assist in countering the hordes of filth that poured into Ether during the first invasions of the Spiral Lords long after those wars. An unnatural cataclysmic event shattered the Storm Coast and killed off their giant elders, leaving the ogres both homeless and without masters. Over the centuries that followed, the ogres resettled in the frigid north of Aetheril and built a stratified, martial civilization ruled by warlords. Today, these massive masters of violence can be found throughout Aetheril. Their strength and discipline has earned them a reputation as renowned soldiers, loyal mercenaries, and skilled craftsmen. Ogres can be the following classes: Archer, Beastmaster, Elementalist, Fighter, Monk, Ranger, Shadow Knight, and Shaman. So that's going to wrap up the different races within the world of Ether, within the game, Monsters and Memories. Let me know which classes or races you're most excited for, which combinations you're looking to get in there with. It is something to note that the deep races are not currently in the pre-alpha, and they are not going to be in the game when early access launches, but they should be coming out within a good amount of time when early access happens. I think they're looking to get them in there maybe with the first major patch, at least a couple of them. Trolls are also not in the game yet. And then one thing to note that wasn't in this video at all is further down the line, Lizardmen are also going to be in the game. So, they've got some work to do, but very much looking forward to making some of those race class combinations that aren't going to be available right away. After early access is done and everything is flushed out, there's going to be some fresh start servers, and I'm probably going to have to roll, one of those deep races. I mean, I like all the deep races, but I don't know which to choose. Let me know what's your favorite deep race. I like them all, but I have plans to make a deep dwarf and a deep gnome. Can't wait to see what they come up with once the models are finished in game. But I'm blabbing now. I'll see you guys in the next one.